Fine. So in this particular session, we'll study about subquery. So generally, what is a subquery? See, as the name says, a sub means as a small. Okay, query is nothing but a question. So now, when you have any particular query, we are subdividing this particular query into small queries, and then we are trying to execute one after the other. Okay, or in general term, we also say subquery is nothing but a query encapsulated within another query, query within a query. We call it as a subquery. Now let us see, like, how do we write a subquery in your SQL? Okay. Subquery is one select statement is nested inside another select statement. This is how your subquery is been written. So when you look into this, we have one query within this particular query. So you can see there is another query which is encapsulated within this. Now, when you observe here, this particular query which is inside this, we call it as a subquery. Okay. And the subquery is, when you see here, this is a complete query here. So it says, select the column name from the table name where column name is equal to a value that has to be compared. So when you see this is a complete query, but we call this outer one, we call it as a main query. When I say main query, so you can see here, it says select the column name from the table name where column name equal to, we need some value for this particular query to be completed. So that means this main query is always an incomplete query, but your subquery is always a complete query. That means the first thing what happens is your subquery will execute first. When it executes, it generates one output. This output of the subquery will become as a value here. So I can just say this becomes a value. And based on this particular value, this query will be executed. So that means always you get the output from the main query. So, but to execute this main query, the another query has to execute. The value of that is taken, and then based on that, this query gets executed. Okay, this is how it happens. So we say the outer query is call it the parent query, or we also call it as a main query. And the query what is there inside, we call it as a subquery, so which is completely a complete query. And in between this we have operators, so we can use any of your relational operators. We also have operators to compare with multiple values in, any, all, and exist. We have different operators. We'll look into this particular operators in this session. Okay, so now, so when you see the concept of your subquery is, so this query, the main query, which will not execute unless and until, okay, it is expecting some output. Okay, it is asking a question from the another query. So first this query execute the output. Based on this output, this query will be executed only based on the output. So in what kind of situation we can use this particular subquery? So when you see here, let me use these two tables which we are actually familiar with. So I have a products table. So when I see this particular products table, it has the details about the products. Okay, it has the information like product ID, the product name, the supplier ID, the category ID. It has all the details of the products. Fine. It has a category ID. It has what is the stock, what is the unit price, and things. But I don't have the category details like name of the category, the description of the category, category photos. I don't have that. But I have a category ID. Now, in a situation, let us see even the categories data here. When you see in the categories table, I have a category ID, I have a name of the category, and I have a description. Now, take an example. A question has been given. I want to see all the, say, seafood products. Okay, I want to see all the seafood products. So in that case, what we do, when I go to the category, we have a category ID, we have a name, we have a description, but we don't have the products. What are the products are there for the seafood? So for that, what I need to do, I need to go to the products table. In the products table, I have the name of the product, unit price, stock, and all those things. I just have there is category ID. I don't have a category name. So what will I do? I will try to find out what is the category ID for this particular category seafood. So here it says 8. So when I say category ID is 8, then I will go to my products table and I'll say, get me all the products whose category ID is 8. So that means this is my seafood product. So you can see this is caravan, uh, is your seafood product. So all those particular thing which has the category 8 is nothing but your seafood product. So how will I know? I went to this table and I found out what is the category ID for seafood, and then based on that I will go to my products table and I'll say here where category ID is equal to 8. So that means this is the products belonging to the seafood. That means in the categories table, I saw that the category seafood category ID is 8. Based on that, I'm trying to filter here. Now, the same way, I do want to manually go to that particular table, check what is the category ID based on the name, and then come and relate it. So I want to write one query. So where if I give the name of the category, it has to show me those particular products. Okay, so in this case, so exactly we use the subquery. Let us see how do we write a subquery. So first thing is what I need to do. So generally when you are writing a subquery, it is a good practice go from the inner query to the outer query. Okay, see, I want to get the data from the products table, but okay, the criteria it has to match based on the category table. So that means first I need to know what is the category ID for a particular category. So this is my categories table. So I just want to know what is the category ID for a particular table. Sorry, for a particular category. So I'll just select this category. I'll just say where category name is equal to, now take an example. I want to see the beverages. If I want to see what are the beverages items are there, so what is the name of the category? It's the beverages. This is a question what has been given to me. Get me all the beverages. Okay, so if I run this particular query, you can see it'll tell me category ID, name, description, and everything. But if I have to get this data from the products table, I don't have a category name and description. There I have is only the category ID. So I'll try to get only the category ID based on this particular criteria. So if I have to get only the category ID, what will I do? Instead of star, I'll just say it as category ID. Fine. So here I got the category ID based on this particular category name, that is for the beverages. Now, once we get this category ID, next is what I will do. I say I want to get the data from the products table. Select star from products. Here I'll say where the criteria is category ID is equal to, okay, so equal to is the operator, okay, which is being used, and the subquery always has to be enclosed within the parenthesis. I'll just break this for the readability into 2 lines. Yeah. So when I see here, so this is my subquery, so which is going to get me the category ID of this particular category, that is beverages. So 1. So based off this 1, so this will get me the data. Select star from products where category ID is matching to the output of the subquery. Okay, so if I try to run this particular query, so you can see it is showing me all the products belonging to category. What is it? The category ID is beverages. Now I want to get seafood. I'll just change here. So if I just say seafood, you can see it shows me all the products belonging to the seafood. So I want to get for condiments. So I'll just change this particular category name. So it shows me all the products belonging to that particular category, that is the condiment. So that means, so first this will be executed. So it will tell me what is the category ID for this category, that is the condiments. It is 2. So once I know that it is 2, so here it is trying to fetch all the products whose category ID is matching to 2. See, this is like we are able to get this particular data based on this particular category. So next what I want to do is, see here my output is only 1. So my subquery is returning a single value. Okay, my equal to operator will work. So now we are using this particular relational operator. So we equal to, not equal to, we can use it. Now let us see, like, with some kind of a numeric data. See, the subquery can be written across the different tables with based on the common column, or it can be even written within the same table. So let us take another situation. I want to see those particular products whose unit price is greater than the average unit price. So if I have to see, okay, what is the average? First, I need to know what is the average unit price for the product. And then I want to say, show me all the products whose price is greater than the average price. So if I have to find the average price, what will I do? I'll just say select average unit price. from from the products table. So when you see this, when I run this, I'll try to get what is the average price for the products table. So in the products table, what is the average price? So it says average price is 55. So then I'll just say select star from the products table. That means what is the data you want to get from the product, that is products table, where unit price is greater than or equal to, and then your subquery will go like this. So subquery is going to get me what is the average price, and then so this is going to just get me a value which can be evaluated or which can be added as a value to the main query, but always output you will get it from the main query. That is in the case of subquery. So always the output will be from the main query. A subquery is only for the evaluation purpose. So when I run this particular query, so you can see here, it is showing me all those particular products whose unit price is greater than, so what was the actual unit average unit price? It was 55 something, is it? That you can see here, it is showing me all those particular products whose price is more than that 55. Okay, so we can use greater than, we can use less than, equal to, not equal to. You can use any of the relational operators. So when I say less than, it will show me all those particular products whose unit price is less than the average unit price. So here, when you look into it, I'm trying to use a subquery within the same table itself. So you're trying to find out what is the average unit price, and then based on it. So the same way I want to know what is the cheapest product. So you can just use the minimum unit price. So this will tell me what is this when I run this particular query. So you can see this will show me what is the lowest unit price, 2.5. So based on, I want to get the complete details of that. So you can see this will show me the complete details of those that product whose unit price is the cheapest one. Okay, so when I say max, it is going to be the highest. So this is how we use this particular subquery. So it can be on the same table or it can be on the related table, but always the way it works is, so subquery executes, you get an output. Based on the output, the main query will be executed. So the next thing here is, okay, this is understood. Now, a subquery can return a single value. See here in this case, a subquery is returning a single value. So if your subquery is returning a single value, we can use any of this particular operator. Okay. See, there are possibilities your subquery can return a single column, a single row. Okay. That is what we are seeing. When I say minimum unit price, it will always give me one value. What is the lowest unit price? Average unit price, it gives you again a single value. Okay. When I say select a category ID, where category name is beverages, we are getting one particular category. Fine, because the category ID is a primary key there. Fine. Now, there are possibilities. So if your subquery is returning a single value, that is single column, single row, we can use any of your relational operator, like is equal to, not equal to, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, less than. All these relational operator can be used. But there are possibilities where a subquery can return a multiple values. Okay, even though if I mention a single column, but there are multiple values it might generate. So if a subquery is returning a multiple values, that means if it is a single column but many rows, in that case we can use any of this operator, like any, all, and in. So we'll just see an example of this. Okay, now in what kind of situations we can use this? See, again, when I just get into my categories table, now let us compare based on the description. So I want, say I'm interested in seeing the sweets. Okay, I want to go with the sweet products. We have okay, in the descriptions here we don't, it doesn't mention anything as sweets. Okay, fine. Condiments is something has the sweets in that. Confections also has the sweets. Okay, I want to see all the products, okay, where the description has the sweets in that. Fine, I want to see all the products where the description has a sweet. So in that case, what will I do? The query will go like this. I just say select star from the categories table. where what is that description. So if I have to go for contain suite in that, it can be irrespective of the position. I can use a like operator, a description like. I just say it's percentage, suite percentage. So when I run this, you can see, oh, there are two different categories which contain suites, condiments as well as the confections. So we can see here, we have two different categories which contains, the condiment also contains sweets and the confection also contains the sweet. So now what I want to do is, I want to see all those products which is either matching to this particular condiments or the confections. So that means when I go to my products table, I don't have this particular category in it. I just have only the category ID. But again, if I just get only the category ID, I'll get two category IDs here. ID. So that means here you can see I'm getting two values. So now if I have to compare with two values, so if I just say write select statement, what we used to write, select star from products table, I want to get the data from the products table. I'll just say where category ID is equal to, and if I say this is my subquery, this is my subquery. So I'm getting an error here. You can see the error. Subquery returned more than one row. So that means your subquery is returning multiple rows and you're getting an error is your equal to operator can compare with a single value. So this operator, what is there, it can compare only with a single value. It cannot compare with multiple values. That is the reason we are getting this particular error here. Okay. So now how do you fix this? See, when you want to compare with multiple values, we use some operator. So what is the operator we use? We have studied in this SQL statement that we have an in operator. In is used for comparing with a group of values. So what will I do is, so since my subquery is doing what is returning multiple values, 2 and 3, it is multiple values it is returning. So if I have to compare with multiple values, I instead of using a relational operator, I'll use an in operator. So that means it will show me all the products whose category ID is either matching to 2 or matching to 3. So if I try to run this particular query, you can see it shows me all the products whose category ID is either matching to 2 or it is matching to 3. Fine. So this is what we do when your subquery is returning a multiple values. So that means if your subquery is returning a single value, you can use any of your relational operator. But if your subquery is returning multiple values, we can use any of these operators, like it can be an in operator. Apart from the in operator, we can also use with any and all. So we have just seen with the in. In is used when your subquery is returning a multiple values and you want to compare uh, with anyone. I want to show all the record which is satisfying, matching to any value of that particular subquery's output. Group of values. So we use the in operator. So now next is what we will do is we also have something called as any and all operators. We'll look into what is this any and all operators. See, any is, see, when I say in is like, you're comparing with a group of values. When a subquery is returning a group of values, I want to show all the records from the main query which matches to any value. Okay, all the what to say, any of the values of that particular subquery. That means comparing with all the outputs of the subqueries. Fine. Now we do also have this particular operators called as any and all. So we'll just see like how do we use this any and all operators. So when you're using this operators, any and all especially, they have to be always prefixed with the relational operators before that. And this can be used only, okay, you're comparing with your numeric values, okay, or say date values. And the other thing is, okay, it is used again when your subquery is returning a multiple values of a single row or a single column, multiple rows. Now let us take an example where we can use this any and all. Let me take the products table itself. So this is my products table. So let me do one thing. I'll just say where category ID uh, is equal to 5. We have some products in category 5. So we just have around different products here. So how many? We have 7 rows. Now the unit price of this category ID, so that is what category ID 5, okay, is what we have 21, 9, 14, 38, 39, and so on. Okay, so when I write this particular query, you're getting some multiple outputs. Now what I want to do is I want to see all the values from the products table whose unit price is greater than any of this particular output. Or I'd say I want to see all the products from the products table whose category ID is greater than all the products belonging to category 5. It should be greater than all the products belonging to category 5. So that means it has to show me the products, okay, whose price should be greater than 21. At the same time, it should be greater than 9 also. At the same time, it should be greater than 14. At the same time, it should be greater than 7, greater than 38, greater than 19, as well as greater than 33. So this is possible, like, we need to find out what is the highest value here. 38, it has to show me all the products which is greater than this value. Fine, that means it has to show me all the records which is greater than uh, all the products belonging to this particular category 5. Fine. So in this kind of situation, so what will I do? I'll just say, get me the data from the products table where category ID, sorry, I need to check with the unit price, no? Where unit price is greater than all. I'll just say greater than all. And then my subquery will go like this. Always the subquery has to be enclosed within the bracket, and we can see the operator here is greater than all. This is the operator. So when I run this particular query, so you can see it is showing me all those particular products. Okay, so this should, I need to select only the unit price because it's a single column, multiple rows. I'll just select the unit price. So that means my subquery, what is happening? I'm getting this particular different unit price, 21, 9, 14, 7, 38, and thing. I want to show all the products whose unit price is greater than all the values of the subqueries. That means I want to show only those products is greater than, okay, all the products belonging to category 5. So when I run this particular query, so we can see it is showing me 40. 40 is greater than all the values what we saw in the subquery. The highest value is 38, 9, 21, 27, and all this thing. So when you see here, it is showing me all those particular unit prices whose it is showing me all the products whose unit price is greater than all the outputs of your subquery. Okay, we use a greater than all. Apart from this, we do also have a greater than any. So when I just say this as a greater than any, so what happens is it will show me the products whose unit price is greater than any of the product belonging to the subquery. Mean to say is, so this is my subquery, this is a different unit price. It will show me the product which should be at least greater than 21, or if it is at least greater than 9, it will show me. Even if it is greater than 14, it will show me. Even if it is greater than 7, it shows me. That means if the product unit price is greater than any one of the output from your subquery, I want to show the output. So in that case, we can use a greater than any. You can see we are getting many output. So when you see this 21, it is greater than at least one of the output of your subquery. So in the subquery, we had the outputs like 7, 9, 18, and so on. So that means it should be greater than any one of the output of your subquery. This was my output of the subquery. Let me try to add it in the notepad and should compare it. Okay. So that is what exactly is happening. The difference between any and all. Any will show me the record which satisfies with any one of the output of your subquery. All, it will show me only those records from the main query which satisfies all the output of your subqueries. So this is used, this we can use it, any and all and in, when your subquery is returning a single column, but there might be many rows. If it is a single column and a single row, we can use any of the relational operators. Now there are possibilities wherein your subquery, instead of a single column, you're writing as multiple columns, many rows in many this one. In that case, we use an operator called as exist. See, the exist, what it does is it just checks whether your subquery is returning some value or not. If your subquery is returning some value, yeah, it shows me all the data from the main query. Yeah, if subqueries is not returning any value, so it doesn't show any data from the main query. Now, take an example here is I want to see the data from the products table. Now, what I want to do is I'm very much interested in seafood. So it's something like, I get into a restaurant, even if only if the restaurant has a seafood items there. Okay. So that means I'm not going to eat only the seafood. Apart from that, I might even purchase the other products also. But if there is no seafood in that, so I don't want to get into that. I don't want to even look into that particular what all the products are there. So first thing is I just want to check whether there is a seafood. So if there is a seafood, I want to list out all the products belonging to that particular products are which are available. If there is no seafoods, okay, I don't want to get into the shopping at all. So in that case, what will I do? I'll just say select star from the categories table, because the seafood is the category name, it's not the product name. I'll just say select star from the categories table. Mm, okay, so where category name is equal to, I just say seafood. So when I write this query, yeah, it just gives me, okay, telling fine, there is some product belonging to seafood. If it is there, then I want to get me all the products. I just say select star from products. I just say where. See, generally when you're comparing, we say where column name. So here I'll not use any column. I just use a exist keyword. That's it. That's it. And my subquery is there. So this is my subquery, so which will be enclosed within the brackets. So since my subquery is returning some value, okay, so it is returning some value, you can see you will be able to see the complete data from the main query. So it is showing me all the products here. Fine. Okay. So if say I just say some products, I say beef. If it is there, I don't want to get in. So in that case, what will I do? So it is trying to check whether there is any kind of a beef product there. So it says no. So when there is no, so fine, there is no record from the main query. So what exist will do is it'll just check only for the existence test, whether my subquery is returning some value or not. Yeah, if it is returning some value, then I want to get the complete data from the main query. Yeah, if subquery is not returning some value, okay, I don't want to get into that particular thing. So there are some kind of people who are no fan of seafood. Might be like me. Okay, so only if there is a seafood, I want to get into that restaurant, or I want to do a shopping. If there is no, I don't want to go for shopping at all. I don't want to see any products. So in that case, so we can use it. So that is where exist. So we do also have a not exist. Not exist just like complements. So that means when there was a seafood, all the products were being shown. But when they say not exist, it reverses. Yeah, if there is a seafood, it says it will not show me any product. Not exist. See, no, SEA. So since the seafood is there, okay, it is not showing me any. Sometimes, if there is a seafood, oh, I don't want to get into that particular product list. So like, some people vegetarians, okay. So if there is any non-veg items here, I don't want to get into that restaurant at all. Even though they serve vegetarians, I don't want to get into that particular thing. So we can just use this not exist. Not, it just complements this one. So here what is happening is I'm not comparing with a single value. I'm just checking whether my subquery is returning some value or not. Okay. So exist is used only for the existence test, whether my subquery is returning some value. If it is returning some value, it will show me the complete data from the main query. Otherwise, it will not show anything. So not exist is just the complements of that. Yeah. So this is about your subqueries. Okay. So where we have studied like what is a subquery? A subquery is nothing but one query encapsulated within another query, where first one query executes based on that output of this particular query, which is going to be taken as a value, and based on that value, a main query get executed. So here we have three things here. We have a subquery, we have the main query, and then we do also have the operators. And see, main query will execute only based on the output of the subquery. So that means main query cannot execute unless and until the subquery is being executed. The other thing is, generally what happens is your query execution happens from the bottom to top. But in the case of a subquery, the execution of the query goes from the, okay, generally in the main query and normal queries, that is like top-down approach. Here it is bottom to top. So that means first your subquery will be executed, the output will be given to the main query, and based on that, your main query will be executed. Okay, this is your single subquery. We do also have seen like, the different operators to use in your subquery. That means if your subquery returns with a single column and a single row, we can use any of a relational operator. If your subquery returns a single column with many rows, we use the in, okay, to compare with the group of values. We do also have any and all to compare again with the group of values with the relational operators. We have seen with if your subquery returns a many columns with a single row, we use the exist keyword. Exist keyword is to check the existence, whether my subquery is returning some value or not. Based on that, I want to get the complete data from the main query. So this is okay about your subqueries.